Hey minions, welcome to Crank It Up. This is the Postmortem for Game 21, featuring Minions of Cthulhu Anansi Tales, or Minions of Anansi as I like to call them, and Time-Traveling Vikings, the Servants of Bebo. I bet on Time-Traveling Vikings to win, and they did in 3 games, and Time-Traveling Vikings have had an interesting road so far. There's a curious phenomenon going on with them. Twice, I bet on them to advance, and they did. Twice they advanced in a best of 3, winning Game 3 each time. Both times, they've lost in Game 2. Both times, I've been playing Game 2, and I'm the one who's lost. Now, do I not know how to play Time-Traveling Vikings? Maybe. I like to think that I know how to do. I did very well with them in the exhibition season. But there's 2 curious takeaways with them before I actually get to the postmortem for this specific matchup. The first is that in Game 2, if they've won Game 1, it means that they're going second, and for obvious reasons, that really hurts them because of Timebox. Timebox gets a counter every turn, so if I'm going second, it means that Timebox is always going to be delayed, and having that one extra counter can actually make a significant difference, particularly because another interesting phenomenon is that they played Madness factions twice. They played Zombie Elder Things in round 1, and obviously playing Minions of Anansi in round 2. Both of them bring a lot of madness, specifically Minions of Anansi. So having Timebox out faster is going to mean more madness removal, which takes away the negative points. And when you remember the train problem that I described, how fast can you advance your VP, how fast can you minimize their VP, and how fast can you minimize the spread of madness? Well, if you're going second, then you don't have a chance to fight off the madness as much as possible, and it means that they're going to accelerate much faster. But there's a second issue that's a little bit more subtle, and it has to do with the Vikings themselves, and why I find them frustrating from time to time, even though I really like this matchup. And it's because the Viking steals are just incredibly random. You don't know what you're going to get. It's both good and bad on the surface. If you can get a great card, that's absolutely fantastic, because it's true min-maxing in that situation. If I would take a good card, it means I now have a powerful card, and you've lost a powerful card. And against zombies, we saw that could be incredibly powerful, because they could trigger Timebox with Grave Robbing and cards like that. Against Minions of Anansi, there are some incredibly powerful actions that can be stolen that can make a significant difference over the course of the game. But the opposite is also true. If I steal bad cards, then it's true, max minning. Because not only did I waste one of my good cards and get something suboptimal, but I've taken away a bad card and I've accelerated you getting to your good cards. It's why Vikings can be incredibly inconsistent, despite having a premise that seems pretty overpowered in my opinion. And I know that there are people who really like Vikings. Stephen McHarg swears by them all the time. But it seems like there's a 50-50 chance that they're going to get good steals, and seemingly whenever I play them, they don't get good steals, but the important thing is that in a best of 3, they have more opportunities to have that upside, and I think I'm actually happy with me not being the one who knocks them out, even though Turing Jedi is going to hold this over me for the long time. Typically people will think that I'm over-influencing a team, even though that's not the case in my opinion, especially in a best of 3 format. But it's pretty interesting when someone else, 2 different teams, are the ones who do the knockout punch for Minions of Anansi, the number 2 seed, and one that was very heavily favored to win the entire tournament. So a lot of brackets are going to be busted by this matchup, but ironically, not by me. In fact, I failed to do it, and I'm sorry that I let you down, Bebo. So let's talk about the actual game plan. This is one that I had expected was going to happen. I got a little bit nervous when it looked like Time-Traveling Vikings weren't going to advance, but they did. And we knew that Turing Jedi, being a big fan of Minions of Anansi, would play me, particularly because I had Time-Traveling Vikings winning this whole matchup, and he was in absolute disbelief. So why did I think that they were going to win? There's a couple of things. Let's talk about the plan. Now, as anyone knows, there are 4 key aspects of making a plan according to my good friend Leonard Snart, aka Captain Cold. Step 1, make the plan. Step 2, execute the plan. Step 3, Expect the plan to go off the rails. Step 4, throw away the plan. That's kind of how it works against minions of Anansi, particularly in the Game 2 matchup that we've recorded. I had a very clear game plan going in, and it just simply wasn't going to happen, and you kind of have to adapt on the fly. So what is that plan? There are specific cards that I'm targeting, and I have to be careful because if I steal a card, he could just steal it right back with collecting stories, and then I've wasted my opportunity. Additionally, I have to be very careful with a card like Valkyrie, because Valkyrie can inadvertently be a form of recursion. If I were to steal a powerful minion with Valkyrie, and I have it in my hand, all he has to do is play collecting stories, and he's going to get it right back. I'd be doing him a favor. Ordinarily, Minions of Anansi has no recursion for their upper tier minions. It maxes out at minions of power 3. But if he gets to play Anansi again for a second time, that's incredibly bad. So I have to avoid that. So you think about working backwards. Alright, I'm going to hold on to Valkyrie for the late game, and I'll use it to steal Anansi, or the Servitor, any 5. And then I can combine it with Time Walk to play that 5. If I happen to steal Anansi, Time Walk would have put itself on the bottom of my deck. Then I could use Anansi to play Time Walk again, and then I could play another 4, or I could play a 5. Maybe I could play Dr. Wen again, and replay Valkyrie to get another powerful minion. If I combine that with a Viking Funeral play, that could be 4 or 5 points, maybe even 6 if the breakpoint and the VP align out of nowhere. I greatly accelerate how quickly I get VP, and even with the Madness loss, I should be okay. And we saw that with Game 1's score to a lesser extent. The score was 9-7. It didn't matter that there were 6 VP lost in Madness. If you score points fast enough, it is still going to be faster than any negative accrual of Madness points, because it takes every 2 cards. There's also Time Box, and Time Box was a big factor in my plan. Time Box can give away a Madness every turn. Cthulhu can give a Madness every turn. The Titans would theoretically cancel out, and therefore I only have to worry about the 1 Madness that he's giving me per turn. So that means that I'm losing 1 point every 2 turns, but potentially getting 3 points every couple of turns. So mathematically that's more. The card you have to watch out for are their VP farming cards. So there's Furthering the Cause, which is their destruction-based card, and there's also The Seal is Broken. As I mentioned as I'm talking about in Game 2, I was hunting for The Seal is Broken at that point because he hadn't played it, and I know that it's going to happen eventually. It's probably on the bottom of his deck, which is why I'm trying to steal it there. But I have to be careful because I don't want to steal a bad card that will inadvertently give him faster access to The Seal is Broken. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think he got 3 or 4 points out of it. One of the plans for the Vikings is to actually take The Seal is Broken, not play it, but bury it. So with the Vikings, they can put it back on top of their deck. And if I have a Raider, then I can put 3 cards on the bottom of my deck, one of which is going to be The Seal is Broken as the bottommost card, and that way when I draw 2, it's still on top of my deck where he can't touch it. If I can shuffle it in with my Time Traveler cards, that's going to be even better, because that means I can do it all in a single turn, and I don't have to worry about putting 3 cards on top of my deck. I only have to put it on 1. And a Huskarl can easily do that, which combines really nicely with Time Box, because it's an easy +4 power, and then I get an extra action to get rid of a Madness. You can see how all these things are starting to come into place. If I steal Corruption, I do the same thing. If I can steal Furthering the Cause, that's great. The card I absolutely want is Altar to Cthulhu. Altar of Cthulhu is going to be incredibly powerful. That would give me extra actions every turn to get rid of the Madness. If I can steal Altar of Cthulhu for the long term, then I don't think this game is going to be even close. I think Time Traveling Vikings would run away with it. Because if he gives me 2 Madness per turn, I have the ability to remove 2 Madness per turn. And I do it in service of breaking a base. And that's going to be a lot of VP, no Madness loss. I don't think he can give it to me fast enough in order to stop me from winning the game. So where did the plan go off the rails? In a couple of ways. 1, obviously I'm going to be haunted by forgetting about Feather Gifts, thinking it was in his discard pile. I don't know why I thought that. I mean, I should know better that it's really hard. I have to discard it myself in order to get it to Feather the Gifts, or he has to discard it. That's unfortunate. I think it ended up giving him the exact power that he needed to break Mountains of Madness. Speaking of which, Mountains of Madness is definitely where things go off the rails. Not only am I getting madness for playing there, trying to compete, but he's going to get madness that he can give to me by playing a minion there. So now I'm getting madness even faster on both sides of the equations. And I can't afford to lose that base because it's 6 VP. That's incredibly bad. If I win that base, I'm the one who's getting 6 VP, and that will greatly advance the end game and work to my favor. It just didn't work out that way, and that's unfortunate. Tropical Paradise isn't doing me any favors either. In fact, it's a base that I have to be really careful about. When you're minions of Anansi, you want bases with linear splits because you know you're going to be getting second place on most bases, so why not get more points? So he doesn't care if he gets second place on a 3-2 base because it's an extra point for him and it helps close the gap in the aforementioned train problem. But that is a base that is extremely easy to break. And at some points, I'm actually trying to get it out of the way because I need something to give. I've got Mountains of Madness giving me madness every turn. If I get a second base out there that I could actually play on, then maybe he no longer plays on Mountains of Madness because he has to compete with me, possibly getting solo points. I really need Tropical Paradise gone, and it's not doing me any favors. Machu Picchu has Furthering the Cause. I can't play there because my guy's going to get destroyed, and he's going to get a VP point for it. So he's definitely got the area control aspect going for him. That really hurts as well. At times, you'll see me carefully thinking, all right, I'm just going to give him 2 victory points and play the long game, that whatever comes out next will be better for me. And eventually, once I saw Storyteller's Hut, I wondered, okay, if I can get to Time is Fleeting, my Time Traveler special, to get that base in the discard pile, that's going to be really good. Having 2 extra chances at extra actions would bode really well for me. And so I kind of liked how Game 2 was going for the first half or so. I won both bases at first. I've got a good VP spread. Mountains of Madness is when things really start going off the rails. And that's unfortunate. But this is why we play best of 3. It doesn't matter that they lose Game 2. There were 3 possible outcomes for this game. How many times would Time Traveler Vikings win? If they won 0 times, then I'm a fool for betting on them, and what was I thinking? If they win once, then I feel somewhat validated because it shows that they can win even though they didn't win in the long haul. You know, winning once is a big difference from not winning at all. But if they win twice, regardless of whether or not it happens in my game, that's a pretty significant statement. I know a lot of people had Minions of Anansi winning this game, but Time Traveling Vikings, their fans are pretty hardcore, and they should feel pretty rewarded for the fact that their team is going on to advance. Some people may be upset by the result, but it's really hard to argue 2 out of 3. And when you read the logs, you'll see that the steals are going to be a key factor. Whether it's stealing all the minions so that they simply can't play on bases, that's going to hurt a lot. Or stealing some powerful actions, it's also going to hurt a lot. The Vikings go where the Vikings steal. The steals didn't happen in Game 2 that well. Raiding Party to start the game was really unfortunate. I would have liked something better there. Just imagine if I had stolen Altar of Cthulhu and played it already. I could have gotten rid of some madness just right there on turn 1. That would have been awesome. But it doesn't work out that way. I'm happy for my bracket, obviously. Congrats to Time Traveling Vikings. You're going to be advancing to round 3. They're definitely feeling like an underdog that has, pushed forward. And again, I give credit to both Sonus and Chatterific, who really campaigned for the team, saw a lot of their potential. Even though they are swingy, they do have that upside, and fortunately for them, they've managed to hit that upside more consistently than they haven't. Let's see what happens in round 3. That's the postmortem for Game 21. We'll see you tomorrow for Game 22. Let's shut it down.